Greetings, dear ones. I'm Kryon of Magnetic Service. We are on a ship at sea. The channeling that I give today is for those in the room more than those who would listen later. For we wish to establish some truths, some concepts, some energies, and something we call cognizing, which is another word for belief. The old souls who sit in front of me are here for many reasons. Some more than you know. What would appear to be relaxation and vacation and tourism is going to turn out to be healing. You see, I know the potentials of those who sit in front of me today. For some in this room, in these few moments every day, it'll be medicinal. It'll be something you need. It's that which energy will pour into your body because you needed to be here and sit and feel it. And you may not even know it until you leave. First, can you cognize that this is real? Not all who would go on a cruise have come from the ranks of those who believe in channeling. And we are just saying, for these days, can you suspend belief enough to think that this energy coming through this man in this chair is beyond that which you might think is possible, because you're here to hear it. I knew you were coming to sit in this small area together. There's an energy that's being developed in this place that is so specific to this place. And now I will reiterate what has already been said today. When you are on the water in this fashion, you are not grounded. The motion that you feel right now is a testament to the fact that not only you are not grounded, you're not in one place and not grounded. You're moving. Water is not a grounding substance. It's a reflective substance metaphysically. So not only are you not grounded, you're moving. It's one thing to be that direction in that way and that attribute for a few hours, but for a day or more, things start to happen. Dear ones, did you ever consider why sailors want to be sailors? Why those who sail the sea want to get back to the sea? Why it is called the mistress, the siren that calls those to be upon it? Because it changes something in every single human being who is on it for a duration. And that change can be noted in the sailors that you would know, in the men and the women of the sea that you would know. They love it. They find introspection that they could never get anywhere else. It calls to them, it changes them, it makes them actually more creative. It creates hermits. But that's what they want. You know it's true. For those who spend months at sea and come home for a few days or a week, have difficulty at home for a week. It's too social to be with their family. And speaking about social, on the water brings up things that would never happen when you were grounded. If you're here with a family, there will be disputes. Couples will have issues because they turn introspective because they're not grounded. You'd think this would be the last place for an argument, a vacation on a cruise. And yet it brings up things. Those who are esoterically minded, that is to say, who think out of the box and are aware of energies and what they feel like and what they do, those of you who are there know about what I speak right now. You're in the first day of several, where you will be cruising from place to place, sleeping while you move across the earth that you cannot touch or see. You're ungrounded. We've said this, the dreams are different. Your thinking is different. Did you know that many creatives, especially those who write poetry and music and books, love to take ocean voyages because they disconnect from the earth? And in that disconnection, they are free to think out of the box, and they do. Now, the untold story, how many get healed because they're on the ocean? And the answer is lots. The incidence of disease with sailors who spend months on the ocean is radically different from those who stay on the land. And you'll say, well, that's because on the land there's more people, there's more things to catch. That's not what's going on. The body disconnects in a way and becomes introspective in a way, becomes self-healing in a way, consumed with thoughts it would never have if it were on the land. Dear ones, this is an opportunity to reflect. You sit in a posturing, an energy of permission to reflect. Now, when you start reflecting on who you are, why you're here, and life itself, I ought to tell you something else that takes place. That when you're not grounded, you also have many solutions presented. The grounding is something that keeps you in a place you expect. It helps you to balance. When you're on the ocean, you're freewheel. You can think about anything. You can imagine anything. Did I tell you the best place for affirmations on the planet is on a cruise? Sometimes the grounding keeps you from thinking out of the box. Sometimes that which is what you would call the balancing act you have between ego and other things literally becomes disassembled when you're on the water. You have an allowance right now to do something you may not think you could do. Right now in the room. I want you to reflect. Why are you here? How do you feel? What is your life about? Really? Many ages here. It doesn't matter. You can all ask the same thing. Do you dare ask it? Or will you think a little too much? And that is the other issue. If you're grounded, well, you can turn it off. But if you're on the water, especially moving on the water, you can't turn it off. And what I mean by that is that once you begin asking the questions of your own soul, it starts to give you good answers. Outside of that field which grounds you, you start to get really good answers. It's a mistress, is it not? When you have such good intuition over and over, you want to stay on the water. Ask a sailor, what is it about the ocean? And they will say, it speaks to me. What they're really saying is that they have a connection with something that they don't have on the land. It's not the water. It's not the sea. It's the attribute that ungrounds them and allows them to expand to places where they can be alone and never think they're alone. Who are you now? You've come full circle, some of you, through disease, some of you, through sorrow, some of you. And this first day at sea gives you an opportunity to set the stage for all the days. Reflective means that you can ask these questions. Am I here on purpose? Some say, I've only done a certain amount in life and here I sit. I'm not sure truly why I'm here. I see myself aging. I'm not really certain what an old soul is supposed to do when all I've done is perhaps go from place to place or raise a family. Never do you understand or realize you are a light engine that is always working on this planet, a mini portal. That's what an old soul is. If you did nothing more than be born, go through life working, having the family, the relationships, all that you do, coming and going for 50, 60, 70 years or more. It's all you do. I want to tell you, if you are an old soul, one who is concerned with others, compassionate about yourself, and balanced, that is a light on this planet. It is collective. You didn't write a book? Doesn't matter. Do you hear me? Your existence as a being of wisdom on this planet affects everything here. Dear ones, I want you to reflect right now on you. And don't you dare ask the question, what am I worth? It's priceless. Your life here is priceless because you exude light in your attitude, in your thoughts, in who you are, in what you want to be or do. That is a dynamic energy engine that pours out that which is esoteric, you don't know about, you can't see, called consciousness, and collides with a confluence of other consciousness on this planet that is starting to build light. Build light. Lighthouses, I want you to know your lighthouses. So as you reflect and as you become created to reflect in these days, I want you to think about that which is so positive. Here's who I am. Here's what I've done. You tend to be so human. You measure everything by how you feel and what your face looks like today, not what it'll be in the next lifetime or the last lifetime. You disconnect from the metaphysics of the return. What if everything you're doing right now is to set you up for the next time you come? Are you okay with that, light worker? Are you all right with the fact that there is lifetimes of setup for lifetimes of achievement? That what you are going through now may very well set you for the next time around. I've talked to my partner about that as he reviews who he has been and where he has been, that I tell him about, that he doesn't know. And the bigger picture starts to then evolve for him, realizing that one lifetime does not paint a picture. Many lifetimes tell you who you are. You can't know. But could you cognize or believe that you're a piece of your own soul's beautiful success? Yes, life is short, for now. When you return on this planet, you will live a lot longer than you will this time. Consciousness will change biology, which will change lifespans. Compassion itself will create that which is a human who does not see disease. You're on the cusp of something grand, and this is just a piece of the puzzle. That's who you are, and that's beautiful. Could you cognize this to the fact that no matter what you're going through, you can take a deep breath and say, I'm okay with all of it. Perhaps I've given you something to think about. Perhaps you're more profound than you think. Perhaps you're okay. That's the message. Light worker, old soul, take these moments of reflection and create from them wisdom, So when you return to that place where you're grounded and you're sleeping in a grounded place, it'll stay there. You'll know who you are. And you'll realize this was more than a vacation. That's it for now. And so it is. Greetings, dear ones. I'm Kryon of Magnetic Service. We are discussing the metaphors of the four elements. Each of these days will feature one. And there will then be a commentary, a short channeling, perhaps even what you call added information to each of the elements which you discuss and look at. The elements as you know them and as taught this week are fire, air, water, and earth. And we're going to metaphorize each. And the first one that you have looked at today in a very special way is fire. You've done the exercise. You've looked at the potential of how you purify with fire. It becomes a purifier. You take a look at that which is fire itself. So let's discuss that, because this element, dear ones, is different from any of them. We're going to metaphorize fire inside the human being. In other words, we're going to assign it an energy, which we will do each day. Fire is different from any of the other three. The first is this: on the earth itself, it is the only one of the four that doesn't simply lay around. You might say fire is created in several ways. It's always there. It indeed is one of the elements. But often it's created very specially. Lightning is not fire. It creates fire. Lightning is electricity. The magma of the planet is not fire. It's magma, but it creates fire. Fire is active, and all of the other three are passive. You can make a big or a small fire. You can't make a big or a small air, or a big or a small water, or a big or a small earth. They are what they are. They are used, they sit there, they have energy, and you'll learn about them. But fire, you have a choice, don't you? Fire does not necessarily always exist for you to simply pick it up and carry it around like you would water or earth. It's not always available, such as air. In the old times, the indigenous would actually have a fire keeper. Somebody would keep the embers warm as they traveled, especially when the weather was wet. Fire to them was warmth. It was life. It cooked their meals. You had to have it. But you had to do something to get it. You had to nurture it. You had to care for it. You had to carry it around. You had to create it, if it wasn't there, the best way you could, with friction. So you see, of the four elements, fire is different. So let's assign fire to something within the human being. Metaphors are fun, because you can then extrapolate some things that you might not have thought of before. Let's make fire your soul. And in this particular case, you have an unquenchable fire, one that never goes out, and yet you can cover it. I don't want it to be lost that fire can be literally snuffed out by any of the other three elements, but not created. You can quench it with water. You can rob it of air. You can cover it with earth. So you have a choice of how big you want your fire. But your soul is forever. While you're in 3D, dear ones, the fire which is your soul can live in the back seat, be quenched out to the point where it barely is there. And you can live in a way that would never acknowledge it. On the other hand, you can feed the fire. You can feed it with love and compassion and make it as big as you wish. You can turn your fire into intuition and healing. You can turn the fire into knowledge and wisdom. You can make a bonfire and walk around in balance where people can actually see the light from your fire. Or you can put it out with some of the other elements or some of the things that you carry around that bury it, cover it, and rob it of life. That is free choice of the human being. What happens when you start to cover the fire is it no longer generates light. Fire is active, none of the other elements are, therefore it has something it does. It broadcasts itself. Fire broadcasts an energy called heat and light. And so in this metaphor, you can see that which is the fire that you have, and you can look at it two ways. What does the fire consume? Is it dangerous? It can be what you want it to be. Dear ones, I close with this. Let the fire of that which is the compassion of the Creator in you shine so bright that it consumes everything that is not magnificent. May it consume every thought that you would have that you don't belong here. May it consume that which has been said to you that you are not magnificent. May it consume that which is inappropriate for who you are. May it consume every untruth you've ever learned without making those who told it to you wrong. There is an appropriateness in all beliefs, in all things, and then there is the truth of the light. May fire create that light where the purity of who you are and the truth of the Creator comes through. May it chase away the diseases in your body. May it create balance and joy. May the inner child be illuminated with the fire so much that there is happiness when you wake up in the morning instead of the opposite. Let this element be one that you can control and work with and make as large as you wish. That's fire. And so it is. Greetings, dear ones. I'm Kryon of Magnetic Service. Those who have not seen channeling before may ask the question, how is it that you can cross that veil so quickly, so easily, so fast? In an older energy, this was not the case. And that in itself shows the difference between what was and what is. What you see my partner do is to cross the veil because it is much thinner than it was before. That he has practiced this and knows this. And whereas before there was a great deal of adjustment to allow from an old energy human being in the consciousness to punch through that which was thick to get the information, even the cells of the body reacted. And today you don't see that. More and more of those who are channeling will instantly channel. Come in, come out. It ought to tell you, dear ones, what you can do. Meditation, those things which you were taught perhaps you must do, are not necessarily the same as they were. Some of the things that you would say are clearing before you can then perform a certain energy, those are different as well. It's all good news. And it talks about the human being and a relationship to the earth. This day is a study of the element called earth. It's not the dirt of the earth, it is Gaia. You have to say that one of the elements of earth, fire, water, air, earth is not the dirt, it's Gaia. Whereas fire was that which was so different than the other elements and so different in what you could do with it, earth is different in itself. It is sentient. It is consciousness of your partner. And so we put this to you. Are you in tune yourself with that element called Gaia? If we would superimpose a metaphor onto the human body, we said that fire would represent the soul. Because this is something you could control the strength of. You build a bigger fire. You're more aware of your soul's akash. Or you start to put out the fire, and that is to say that you're less aware. That is free choice. This is the dirt of the earth called Gaia. The metaphor is your consciousness. So the consciousness of the human being would be the metaphor of the element called earth. For in this day and age, you're starting to learn that human consciousness is actually allied with that of the planet. And you cannot separate them any more than you can separate yourself from your soul. And the more you start to understand this, the more you start to understand and realize you're not alone. You're not alone in the things that you wish to shift about you. If you are allied with the planet, do you see how much you can do? How much there is? Did you know that the very healing that you have asked for, that you've come here for, I know who's here. Do you realize how much that applies to that which is around you, the environment, the planet? The planet grows what you eat. The planet is responsible for a lot of what you think. This alliance between you and the earth and Gaia is one of the secrets of long life. You do not exist as an island, dear human being, that is surrounded then by things that are not you. Instead, you are surrounded by things that are you. The very dirt you walk on, that which you consider the plants that you see, that give you the air, all of this is necessary for everything that you've asked for. Consciousness shift, peace, healing, longer life. It must include Gaia. Gaia does not separate itself from you. The partnership is so complete, you must assume and believe and cognize it, that it is necessary for you to even be alive. This is the message of the day. The elements of this earth, the four that we studied, go way beyond simply four elements. They come together, even in the process of life itself. And therefore, as you study in this brief time these four elements, and you have ceremony and celebrate and honor them, you celebrate you, your relationship to all of them, truly. If you want to say so, there could be 5 elements, and the 5th element is the consciousness of the human being. And so it is. Greetings, dear ones. I'm Kryon of Magnetic Service. The element that is studied today is water. And we'll just tell you that that is water is life. And if there's any kind of a metaphor that would say, what does the element of water mean metaphorically to the human being? It is life itself. Life. You've had that which is the soul, you've had that which is consciousness, but life, how do you weigh the importance of that element? But beyond that, dear ones, you've already discovered that water in crystallized form will show the effect of love and compassion, consciousness. You already know that. There are those in this room who know about that which is the energies that are esoteric of the human being. Energies that were known from the ancients and processes that are used today, taking advantage of them, that Western medicine is just now discovering. So you also know the power of consciousness and how it changes the energies, how energies can be then altered by the way a human being thinks about themselves. There are those who use energy work who have discovered a long time ago that there are human beings who can sit and endure it and have no change, and then there are human beings who can sit and accept it and embrace it that will be healed. So what does that tell you about the meridians? Do they just sit there and do their thing, or are they like antennas that pick up the intent and the consciousness of the human being, amplify it, and go into the places that are designed for them to go into, and affect that which is at the cellular level, life itself, the water? Every process you can think of in this room that you have done or you may be an expert in seems to also know who you are when you do it. It's almost like it tunes in to the human being who is part of it all. If you go away with nothing from this series, I want you to remember this one thing. You are powerful. More than just powerful. You are selectively powerful. That is to say, you can design who you are. You can design the diseases you catch and heal. And how you think and what you perceive will lay upon you like a book. Like you can open it and read who you are. I'm afraid of this. I'll catch this. Or I'm going to survive no matter what because I will not catch this. I will not do this. This will not attach itself to me. I am a healthy person. My cells all agree. They cooperate. I know who I am. They know who I am. Which book is yours? No time in history is this more prevalent and more exciting than now. More is happening than you know. The shift that you have gone through at 2012 starts to move so many things, and it is incremental. So slow is it you may not even understand that it's moving. You'll have new processes and new ways to measure them. You'll start to see that which is the body's energy itself start to cooperate with the energies of the consciousness of the human being who is using them. you'll start to see something we've told you before, and that is a move away from that which you've had, which you call allopathy. That there will be no more cures as you think of them, but more like healings and reversals as you design them. Instead of taking a pill that then is going to change some chemistry and at the same time perhaps have side effects, there's going to be a purity of consciousness imbued into whatever device you think, if any at all, put inside the human being, esoterically perhaps with consciousness or otherwise, and the body will recognize it. What do you call homeopathy? Is it a pill? No. It's a signal. The difference should be obvious. Homeopathy is not a drug. It's a signal. It's a signal that is designed to talk to that which is your innate. Your body sees the design, the message is complete, and the healing begins. What does the homeopathy tincture carry that is so remarkable? And why would a signal demand the body do something? And the answer is that with the signal that tells the body what to do, there is the instruction from the boss. That's you, because you are the one who put it under your tongue. And it was your intent imbued upon that which is the tincture. You're the boss talking to your cells in a way, perhaps, that the ancients always knew about. When you do acupuncture, what are you really doing? Is the energy in the meridians, in the needles, in the esoterics of it? Or is it a signal? Using that which is the energies. And the signal is instructions. I know you're there, this is the meridian, this is what it does, and it comes from the intent of the one that is able to sit through it and say, it is my body, this is what I want. All of these messages being given to the human body, right to the life source, right to the water. What do you know about water? You can restructure it with consciousness. What do you know about the human bonding of the water to life itself? You can change it with consciousness. What have you already discovered through the ancient processes that I've just mentioned? Healing. Instructions to the body. I want you to start seeing something. That there are more of these than you know. The affirmations that you're now speaking out loud is part of the issue of bringing it out and letting the ears hear it, let it go into the consciousness and affect who you are. Meditation itself is so strong now because it's the human being with the intent giving instructions, not just energies, not just prayers. Do you see the difference between praying for something and instructing? Is it possible you can instruct the planet? Is it possible you can instruct your cells? With all of this, do you think perhaps you could increase your lifespan? Stop aging to the degree that you are. A body ages because it doesn't have instructions. Are you listening to me? The body ages because it does not have instructions. You'll say, this is silly. The body ages naturally because of the way it rejuvenates or does not, because of the telomeres shortening, because of this and that. And I'll tell you, dear ones, it will do what it does if you just sit there and watch it. And that's the default of the way a body works without instructions. But when you start instructing it, then you give it the blueprint of how it reproduces and how it regenerates and how it chases away the inappropriate things. I'm telling you, you're in control. No more than any time in history, you are in control now. It's a greater way than you think. There's more going to be given. But I'll tell you this, I want you to look to the ancients and your ancestors. They had things that you've thrown away. Wisdom that you do not necessarily want to look up and read. Ways of getting along. Old adages and sayings that are so profound that you've cast away on the floor. Ceremonies that worked because the ones who did the ceremony were of like mind and understood what they were doing. Kryon, are you saying we should do ceremony? Yes, you should do it in your own way, in a modern way perhaps, maybe even at the office. Do you think something like that is possible? And the answer is yes. When human beings discover something that works, they'll do it and ask questions later. This is what's happening. This is what's going on. Compassion in the workplace. This is what's going on in so many places around this planet that is unreported, that you don't know about. It will be years before the news will ever pick that story up. Not enough drama, you'd say. And yet it is the most dramatic thing that's happening on this planet. And it will eventually create compassion and peace where there wasn't peace, negotiation between countries that looks far different than it ever did before. That's coming. And for now, we say to you, dear ones, that you are needed to remain peaceful for what you see. To be better knowing and have better knowingness and consciousness and things that would frighten other people, and you know better. And you would say, this is not what it seems. Be peaceful. For your balance will then affect the others around you. And then in the end, they will come to you and say, you were right. Perhaps I should listen more. Perhaps I should look up that which is my ancestry and listen to them more. Perhaps I had to research what they believed and listen to that more. That's enough for now. And so it is. Greetings, dear ones. I'm Kryon of Magnetic Service. You study air, the fourth element. Here's another element which seems to be invisible. You can see it clearly. The wind carries it. It is the wind. But in general, it is something that is precious to you. You need it for life. Even more than water. You need it constantly, every moment. And there's an alliance in air with Gaia. If you would look at the metaphor in the human body, what would air be to you in this esoteric metaphor? Let's call it your silent life friend. Something that is invisible, something you take for granted, something you need every moment of every day. And when it's gone, you're aware of it. And you cannot survive. My partner today speaks of things that are hidden. They are hidden in history. And the more you learn about them, the more you know about the magnificence of not only yourselves, but of your ancestry. We told you that on this planet today, that the wisdom keepers, which I will say are the ancients with a capital A, they have that which is missing in the Western world. They carry the wisdom from the past, And the indigenous know it, and that is why the indigenous honor the ancestors, listen to the ancestors, and have stories passed down from them that they continue to teach to their children. It's a wise culture that will take the ancients and make it a part of the teaching of the little ones. And that is not what you've done. What if you could extend this? Who were the ancients before the ancients? And that is the study of the stars. The ones in the galaxy before you. Is it possible that their wisdom is also in you? And then you'd have to ask the question, well, where did you really come from? Is it possible that you, as a human soul, are an extension of what has been before Earth had life? And if that's the case, do you have wisdom beyond the planet that you could pull in and help what's going on now? That invisible friend called air is the ancient wisdom you carry. What if you could pull upon this right now? I would like to tell you something, dear ones. Many in this room have. The ones listening to this in the future will begin this. The very wisdom that I am talking about, this invisible friend you have, is yourself in your own Akash. That, combined with what you would call the creative source, is the secret for peace on earth. You are starting to discover energy beyond that which you would say is the energy you would need to live. This is energy within the human body. These are specific energies that have always been here for your humanness and the biology that you had before you ever came here. If I told you that the energies of the creative source and your body were the same for other life forms all over this galaxy, would you question that? Would you say, well, the other life forms probably were not humanoid? Yes, they were. Other life forms were probably not like us? Yes, they were. And we'll say it again, when you meet them someday, they may look a lot like you. What did you learn that was not from Earth, that you pull in right now in your Akash, and you intuitively are awakening to something that's from the stars? Now, what would that look like? I'll tell you. The astrologers are awakening to quantum astrology. The homeopathists are awakening to esoteric multidimensional homeopathy, energies beyond what they thought. Some of the most ancient and understood known facilitations are starting to have multidimensional attributes. That is an awakening from the stars. You didn't have it until now, and your Akash is starting to give it to you. This is your best friend. Air is so interesting. Did you know that right now, this particular group, where you are on the planet, is one of the freshest places you can be, with the purest air you could have? The reason? You study in school photosynthesis. You understand the air and carbon dioxide exchange. You understand that Gaia, the trees, are giving you the oxygen that you need for life. You understand that you give them back something they need. But did anyone ever tell you where most of the oxygen on the planet is produced? And if you would say, well, it has to be the forests, you'd be wrong. They're the smallest things that exist, the lichen. all of the moss, the rainforests, they are producing more oxygen than the trees. Therefore, you are in the right place at the right time to go outside while you can and breathe some of the purest oxygen that is being manufactured by your best friend, Gaia. You have another best friend in this metaphor, and it is your Akash. It is giving you the life force that will create something very special on this planet. New information for new health using the energy meridians of the body and so much more. So much more. Energy of the human body will be the secret for longevity and healing someday, more than anything that you have today. Dear ones, there is so much more than you recognize within yourselves that you've never been taught. I want you to leave this place thinking about this. Surrounding you right now, multicolored universe of energies that have your name on it, that walk with you in that which you call your Merkaba, carried partially by you, your biology, your DNA, and even your soul, all mixed together to be something divine, beyond that which reality which you understand, and is the absolute secret of health and life. This is why, as you discover these things in the future, you won't overpopulate yourselves. You'll have wisdom to know what works and what does not. A whole different way of producing food, electricity, and water. A new paradigm of living for the planet will wipe out all of the fears that you currently have in 3D. You don't know what you don't know. If you can hold this vision and think positively, this positive feeling will carry over even into your next life. And when you're born, your Akash will ring with it, that there's hope, you're here for a reason, and you don't have to suffer. The new generation on this planet is the key to everything that's going to take place. And as time goes on, you will be the new generation. Think of it. And so it is. Greetings, dear ones. I'm Kryon of Magnetic Service. There are so many lessons that human beings could learn that are so beautiful and benevolent and awakening. And they are unique to each of you. Those here in the room, those listening later. They must be learned in a way that is appropriate for each and every life. There is no one grand lesson that everyone has to gather around and learn together. Instead, what happens is groups participate in energies that they start to recognize. And it's not the facts of what you learn, and it's not the list that you might write down. What you sense that puts you together into a cohesive unit is the attributes of love. And you feel safe and you recognize it. And that is the communication between light workers. Not that which you would call a belief system. I would like to say, stop calling it a system. Is love a system? And the answer is no. Is compassion a system? And the answer is no. Then your relationship to the Creator is not a system. It just is. But others will recognize the same energy that you do. Not in a system, but in that compassionate energy that surrounds all of you and makes you a better person because you are compassionate and loving to yourself, then to others. It changes all of the attributes of your expectations, but it's got to start at home. It has to start that place that you call you. And you've heard it over and over, forgiveness of self. It's not really forgiveness. It's an awareness of who you are and what you may not have to forgive. It's an awareness, again, of being born magnificent. And no matter who you thought you were, that is who you were as a child. That's what the child thought until they grew up and understood everything about compassion and love. The God that created you is you. I'll say it again. Made in His image is a phrase that so many have used in the past to describe the divinity in a human being. And the image is not the image of a prophet or the image of the face of God. It's the image of compassion. It is love. Made in His image means you are a piece of the Creator. The image of the Creator is inside you. That's magnificent. That's the engine that you start to use to create whatever it is you need right now. Solution to the problem you came with today? The engine is there. Solution to the health issues you have? The engine is there. We told you the last time we met, how are you going to instruct the engine to then drive forward and eliminate these things that you don't necessarily need to have, that are inappropriate to your life at this time, dear light worker? Do you feel that your life is limited? Do you feel that perhaps it's going to be over soon? I will tell you that all of that thinking was placed upon you in an older energy, in a three-dimensional place, and somehow, some way, you have believed it to this minute, not understanding that made in His image means that you have control over the length of time you stay. And that nothing that is going on right now in your life is forever. That it can be moved aside today, tomorrow. You don't know what you don't know. And what you don't know is how powerful you are. The power is for you to change you. You're on the water, dear ones. This is the time. I want to give you some things you didn't really think about. There were a few astronauts a couple of decades ago that completely went out of the Earth's field of gravitation, and there were only a few. And these are the ones that flew to the moon. It doesn't matter whether they landed there or not. They were out of touch with anything that would ground them to the planet for a couple of weeks. And they never, ever got grounded. They never went to a port. And the fact that they were completely and totally outside of the Earth's magnetic field was significant. They were ungrounded, totally and completely. Now I want you to study a little bit of what happened to those men. One of them became an artist, another a poet, another spiritually minded to the max. That's all he wanted to talk about. Others didn't talk about what happened to them because they were very private. But they were so private they didn't even want to talk about the trip, because each single one of them had an epiphany that they never expected. These are scientists and pilots and astronauts that were chosen from the finest ones, the logical ones, and they all were affected. For a few days, you get to be ungrounded. And I'll tell you that the energy in this place is ripe for change, discovery, decisions, solutions. I'll say it again. Change, discovery, and solutions. Take advantage of it or not, that is free choice. I speak to the small group here. And those listening in the future, know this, that when you take these journeys, where you're over and on the water for lengths of time, that these create wonderful creative times. And we've said it before, those who want to write books, take a cruise. Those who want to write poetry, take a cruise. Those who want to have solutions in their life that they cannot seem to grasp, take a cruise. It's almost an invitation for you to think differently. Accomplish things you might not have otherwise. And then when you return to the grounding, it all starts to make sense. And you look backwards to only perhaps a week or two before and say, I never thought of that. I feel different now. And it wasn't because it was a vacation, dear ones, any more than the astronauts took a vacation. It was something else. You with you, some of the greatest tools you could have. And so it is.